Well, hello coders. Welcome back. It's been a long time since I've done a video. I wanted to do a short video update about where I am with Natalie and what's changed. And I think it's been a couple months or so. I have been slacking. Sorry about that. So first, let's take a look at the Git log. 274 commits since my last video update. I am not going through all of those. Don't worry. This is going to be a short video. But I did want to just say, it's Natalie's becoming closer and closer to Ruby every day. It's getting more like Ruby. This was a lot of just making it work more like Ruby. So I added kernel sleep and fixed a whole lot of memory bugs. Because I suck at C and they crept in. Worked a lot on the garbage collector. More about that in a little bit. Let's see what else. Added hash square bracket, array square bracket, added a string square bracket, string index, string sub. I mean, all kinds of just Ruby-ish things, encoding, inspect, except a range to an array subscript. So you can now pass a range into that. More garbage collection stuff, string ljust, and the list goes on and on. 270 something commits. And I spent a lot of time on the garbage collector, which was just the most grueling, painful, yet also enjoyable work that I did not record because, like I said, it was pretty painful to watch. And I learned probably dozens of ways not to build a garbage collector. So, yeah. And then I did a thing that you may or may not approve of. I bought this book, C++ Crash Course. I saw it on Amazon and I thought, I've been wanting to learn C++. And this may or may not have been a mistake. I don't know. Anyway, it inspired me, and mostly was the first chapter. Most of what inspired me was this first chapter. What is it? What is it called? I want to say the right words here. An overture to C programmers, and this is what really hit with me. And it's quite long. And it talks about upgrading to Super C. And from what I got out of the chapter is using C++ like a Super C. And I think that's what helped me realize I could make a better programming language by using C++, but not all of C++. I don't have to use the whole standard library. I don't have to use the built-in containers and every feature that exists, because honestly the feature set in C++ is just super overwhelming. But I could get classes and methods and data, encapsulation and data hiding and a proper class hierarchy of my types, which turned out to be bigger than I thought. Even though Ruby is dynamically typed, you still have to keep track of the types in our runtime, obviously. So doing that in C while possible was getting hard, and I'm not super disciplined. So there was a lot of code that was just reaching into these structs and doing stuff not through a standard layer, right? Not through some standard set of functions. And so because I'm lazy, what's the word? Anyway, we're this object knows way too much about this object, and that object knows way too much about that object. There's a word for that. Anyway, I've lost it. It's gone. It was all over the place, and it was really hard to refactor stuff. So anyway, I did a thing. I started working on a C++ branch. I threw out my garbage collector because I wanted to not have that getting in the way the whole time. And I've been working for the last couple of weeks on just converting Natalie over to a pretty straightforward conversion to C++. Like I said, I'm really not using any of the standard library, the standard template library, that is. I'm not using the containers that are built in. In fact, I wrote my own vector, or I ported it, I suppose, to C++. And you're still using character arrays for strings for now. Like I said, you may not approve of this path, but I have had nothing but a great time the last couple of weeks. I've learned a ton more C++ than I thought I would, and it's been an enjoyable experience. Okay, so enough of you staring at this log screen. I wanted to show you some of the stuff. What would be the best way? Let's do it this way. Let's go to Natalie. And I guess I'll be changing this, compiled to C. Maybe it'll say compiled to C/C++. I don't know what to put there. Yeah. So the big junk drawer that had accumulated was natalie.c. This file is 1,700 lines in the master branch, and it just has everything in it pretty much. What I did was I started teasing these things apart, and so now I have a top level value class. I'm still using keyword struct just as I transition things over, but it's a class. It knows what type it is, and it has proper constructors, and it has all these methods to know what type of object it is, because I have a class hierarchy now. So like there's the value, that's the value class, and then for instance hash value is a subclass of value, and it has its own constructors, and it knows how to do stuff that a hash can do. And what this lets me do, since this is a virtual, I'm trying to get my terminology right, since it's a virtual class, or it has virtual methods, I should say. Because of that, then I can pass around these pointers to values to all my functions, and if that function needs, like if it needs a hash value, then it can do at runtime, just like, like regular old Ruby, it can say, is this a hash? If not, throw an error or raise an exception in Ruby parlance. And if it is a hash, then do a static cast to it as a hash, and that's over here in as hash. So we do a static cast here, and it works pretty well. There are a lot of places, obviously, where I'm having to say as hash. So like if I do this, you're going to see this all over the place in the code. But okay, so while that is redundant, or I guess repetitive, it does make sure that I'm actually treating the object in the way that it should be treated. In the C code, there were places I just totally forgot to check the type of the object. And there were some seg faults in places where I assumed I had a hash type object, but it was a nil, or it was a something else. So anyway, this has been great. One of the other things that, let's see if I can find, one of the other things that the C++ compiler has made me do is use const in more places, especially for strings, which a lot of places where I was passing in strings, and the compiler said, hey, you need to mark this as const because it's a string literal in your file. And I was super lazy about that in the C code, and so now it's gotten better. I'm using const in more places, so the compiler is teaching me things, so that's great. I don't know what else to show you. Let's see, what what else in the C++ code? I mean, I've changed so much. Some of this stuff, there's still some to-dos here and there, fix me's and everything else. So it's certainly not done, but source, let's see. If I go here, so you can see we have a lot more files now. The Natalie.c file, which was my junk drawer before with 1,700 lines of code, is now down to 300 lines of code. And these are things that actually belong in the junk drawer. These are things that don't really fit on a specific type, a specific class. So it feels so good. It feels so awesome. What else? What else can I show you? Okay, and another thing that was really nice was I was able to do this really neat hierarchy with module value HPP. So a module is a value, is a subclass of value, and class value. Why can't I go there? Did I spell it wrong? Value HPP. Class value is a subclass of module value, and that mimics the behavior in Ruby quite nicely, because a lot of things that a class can do, a module can do also. And so being able to put these things in the right buckets has just been great for my own sanity and organizing the code. And yeah. So I don't know what else to show you. Lots of classes or structs. This one is not properly, there's nothing private. I mean, obviously what I'd like to do is mark this as private here and have getters and setters for all that. I haven't gotten to that part yet. But maybe that's some low-hanging fruit for someone who wants to contribute to the project. Okay, so where is Natalie today? Natalie is slowly becoming a real Ruby. We have numbers. We don't have floats yet. We do have numbers and strings. So I can this, and I can do, obviously I can do string concatenation, like so, and I can do string interpolation. If I can type. And I can even do UTF-8 handling with like chars, so that will split it into characters, or I can split it into bytes. So that's four bytes for that one character. So that's pretty cool. Although I'm noticing those are negative. Those should not be negative. Not sure what happened there. Something to fix, obviously. Unsigned to signed, I guess. I'm not sure. Fascinating. So that works. We have hashes. And obviously all the stuff that goes along with that. Not all, but setting keys and deleting keys and getting the keys out and all that stuff. We have arrays, and we have file access and arguments and environment variables, and I mean all kinds of stuff that is making Natalie a more complete Ruby. Do I have Ranger on here? No, I don't have it. Like I've said in other videos, I'm starting to pull in the Ruby spec library, Ruby spec test suite, and starting to make those things pass. I took a little bit of a break from that just to write our own tests, which are easier to get passing. But this directory is getting quite full of tests, and they all pass. So like here's a proc test, and it tests that procs and lambdas work the way they should. And let's see, what's sending messages, calling methods, yielding to blocks, defining a method from a block. You can actually do that with Natalie now. So you can define a singleton method. I think you can define a not singleton method too, so maybe I need a test for that. Class variables, case when, breaking from a loop. I mean, we're getting so much closer to a real Ruby that it's exciting. And so I'm not sure how many more videos I can make of building Natalie, because a lot of it's just making things work. And I'm not sure how much more challenging work there will be ahead. But if there is, I will make a video about it and let you guys see it. Let's see. I think I've added, since the last video, I added this board slam example, which takes three numbers and computes a 6x6 grid for a math game called Board Slam that the kids play in their homeschool groups. And the idea is, you roll dice for these three numbers, and the kids are supposed to fill in this 1 through 36 using math operations. And this is a good tool for when the kids and the parents are stuck, to help them to know, like, oh, it is possible. All answers are possible with 3, 5, and 2. Now, if I give it 3, 5, and 1, there are two answers that are impossible, and it's good to know that, so you don't, just kill your brain trying to figure it out. But this runs really well. The only lag here was just the compiler. Like, if I compile this into an actual binary, static binary, that's the lag, and now I can run it really fast. I can do 3, 5, 1, and this just brute forces the answer to fill in the grid of 1 through 36. And that is probably the biggest example of the biggest what am I trying to say? The most words. The most Ruby code that Natalie can compile and run at this point, or the most complex, I should say. Which I guess is not that long, but the making this work sussed out a lot of bugs. Blocks inside of blocks, and yields inside of blocks, and so on and so forth. Even this permutation here, array, where is that? I don't remember. So writing this permutation method, it's written in Ruby/Natalie, and that's a part of the built-in array class, and writing that was a lot of fun. So anyway, I won't bore you anymore. This video kind of went longer than I wanted to. I wanted to give you an update. Natalie marches on. Natalie is now kind of C++. I still kind of calling it Super C at this point. But I don't know. I don't know if I should just say, yeah, it's C++. It doesn't matter that I'm not using everything C++ has to offer. It's C++. It's got classes and methods and the new operator and delete, and the classes know how to clean up after themselves and stuff like that. So yeah, thanks for watching. My next video is going to be about a garbage collector. I'm going to, I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to integrate the Boehm garbage collector into Natalie and see if it works, see if it does everything it should do. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching. Bye.